So guys, let's continue with Bhagavad-Gita, the highest knowledge which must be taught before anything else. So when Emerson first read the Bhagavad-Gita book, he panicked because what Arjuna was saying would seem right to so-called religious people. He was arguing exactly the so-called religious man. When Henry Thoreau came to this place and saw that Krishna advised him to go to war, he also got nervous. Henry Thoreau has also written that I did not have such a belief, did not even think that story would take such a turn that Krishna would advise to go to war. Gandhi had same pain. His pain was also the same. But life does not work according to any principles. Life is very unique. Life does not run on railway tracks. It flows like the streams of Ganges river. His path is not predetermined, and when God comes in between, he disturbs everything. Whatever was ready, whatever man had created, whatever man's intellect thought, everything goes upside down. Therefore, Duryodhana had never imagined that God would also come down in the middle of this war. So what he is saying is a preliminary statement. As we all make statements at the beginning of life, this is how we all speak. The unknown goes on descending in the middle and everything changes the story. If we look back on life, we would say everything we thought went wrong. Where success was thought, there was failure. What we wanted could not be found. He who had thought of happiness has found it, but then found misery. And the one whom he had never wished to meet, he got a glimpse and fountains of joy burst out. Everything turns upside down. But there are few wise men in this world who should first take the results into consideration. We all take the beginning into consideration first, denoting wish or desire. If we take the end into consideration first, the story of life can be completely different. But if Duryodhana takes the end into consideration first, there cannot be a war. Duryodhana cannot take the end into account. In the end, it will be assumed that this will happen. This is why he is saying again and again that although the armies are great on that side, the victory will be ours. My warriors are eager to make me win even by giving life. But here is a correction. Duryodhana considered his own army to be more powerful and in quantity with the warriors who were impossible to defeat. But even if we use all our strength, untruth cannot win. Even if we spend our whole life, falsehood cannot win. Duryodhana has no idea of this conclusion, and the truth which seems even defeated at that time wins in the end. Falsehood seems to be winning in the beginning, loses in the end. Truth seems to be losing in the beginning, winning in the end. But is it possible to see the end from the beginning? The one who sees become religious, one who does not see goes on going into blind battle like Duryodhana. So there is a question. God. One is the will of the unknown, one person has his own will. These are the conflicts in both. So how does one know what is the will of the unknown? So God is being called by the followers of Osho. They denote him by God. How does one know what the unknown desires? The person never knows. Yes, if a person gives up himself, he knows immediately, becomes one with the unknown. The drop cannot know what the ocean is until the drop is lost with the ocean. One cannot know what the will of the God is. As long as the person has made himself a person, he cannot know. If a person loses himself, then the desire of God remains, but there is no desire left of the person. Then there is no question of knowing. Then the person lives as unknown gives him life. Then there is no aspiration of the individual, then any ambition of the individual. Then there is no attitude left to impose oneself on the desire of the whole meaning of the God by individual, because the person is no more. But how does this happen when you got all your answers from Bhagavad-Gita? As long as the person exists, what the unknown wants cannot be known. And when the person is not there, then there is no need to know. Whatever happens, it remains unknown. Then the person becomes an instrument. Then the person becomes just a means. Throughout the Gita, Krishna further explains to Arjun that he should leave himself in the hands of the unknown. Dedicate it. Unknown means the ultimate level, the 100% pure consciousness, which is like Krishna itself. Because those whom he thinks will die have already been killed by the unknown, then he will not be responsible at all for those whom he thinks will be responsible for their death. If he saves himself, he becomes responsible. If he cannot leave himself behind and fight as just a means, as a witness, then he has no responsibilities left. If a person loses himself in the universe, if a person surrenders himself, gives up his ego, then only the desire of Brahm, highest level of consciousness, comes true. The same results are still happening. It is not what we get a different result from it. It is not that we get a different result, but we will fight, break and destroy to achieve different results. I would say you will get the best like this and not what you think is the best. There is a small story I have been telling continuously. I have been saying that there has been a huge flood in a river and two small straws are flowing in that river. A straw is stuck in the river and is trying to stop the river from flooding. And he is shouting very loudly and he will not allow the river to flow, although the river is flowing. He is shouting that he will stop himself like this. Although he is unable to stop, he is shouting that he will stop the river at any cost. Whether I live or die, but the river is flowing away. The river neither hears its voice nor is aware of its struggle. A tiny straw. The river has no idea about him, which is in reference to a person, like consider the straw as a person. The river does not care, but the straw is getting affected a lot in that struggle of effort. His life is in big trouble. It's getting washed away. If you don't fight, whatever you want to reach, you will reach there even by fighting. So there's no use. But this in between moment, this in between period will become a period of sorrow, pain, conflict and worry for you. Another straw has left itself in its neighborhood. He is not lying obstructed in the river, he is lying straight on the same side in which the river is flowing and is thinking that I'm helping the river to flow. The river has no idea about that either. He is thinking I will make the river reach the ocean. If she is with me, she will definitely reach. The river is not aware of itself. But the river doesn't care. Those two straws are making a lot of difference in their flow. The one who is flowing along the river is in great joy. He is dancing with the great joy. And the one who is fighting with the river is in great pain. His dance is not a dance. It's a nightmare. His dance is breaking off his limbs. He is in pain and losing. And the one who is flowing with the river is winning. A person can never do anything other than the will of Brahm, meaning the ultimate final consciousness. This only means that you are free. You have a free will in between and you can achieve anything in the material world, but that never gives you peace. You always want to achieve more. The race never ends. You can know this by taking small examples out of your life. That should be enough for a person to understand. If you still don't get it, then run, but you will be wasting that much of your time in that running blindly. In spirituality, you will end up at the same place, which is the only place which has meaning. Bhagavad-Gita is fixed, but Krishna's life is changeable. And also you can fight, that much is your freedom, that you will realize it by yourself in spirituality. And you can worry yourself by fighting. You have that much freedom. There is a statement which is very valuable. The verse is, humanity is condemned to be free. Man is compulsive to be free, is powerless, condemned to be free. But man can make two uses of his freedom. He can make his freedom a conflict with the will of the ultimate, and then his life will be a life of sorrow, pain, anguish and agony. Even but remember, you can achieve anything in materialistic world, whatever you want, but ultimately defeat will result, and one can make one freedom a surrender to the ultimate. Then life will be a life of joy, bliss, of dance, of song, and in the end there is no other solution except victory. The straw that thinks it is supporting the river is going to be victorious. There is no way to defeat him, and the one who is blocking the river is going to lose. There is no way for him to win. The will of the ultimate cannot be known, but the one can become one with the ultimate. Then one's will is lost, only the ultimate's will remain. So then there is more question. God means Osho. People say to Osho as God. We are also God, but you guys are not aware. So it's not a big thing like people say to him as a God. Like when you will know, then you can also say. But when you are not aware, then you consider yourself as just a human. God, a person has something of his own in his scientific accomplishment, and how the unknown will reach the scientific achievement, this becomes a matter of difficulty. So this unknown means the ultimate 100% level consciousness, which is denoted as unknown. It is simply seems that in scientific pursuit one's will work. One's own will work. It seems so from the very top. It won't look like it from the very inside. If we see the biggest scientists of the world, we will be very surprised. The experience of all great scientists of the world are very different. They do not have the same experience of science that arises in colleges and universities. This was Osho's finding. Madame Curie wrote, "A question has haunted me for days. I solve it and it doesn't get solved. I am tired, I am upset. I have finally given up on solving it, and one night at 2 o'clock I fell asleep, leaving the paper unfinished on the table, and through that now this question has to be abandoned." A tired person, but after waking up in the morning I saw that where half of the question was left, it had been completed in the morning. No one came in the room, the door was locked, and it is unlikely that someone could have come into the room and solved it. Which Madame Curie could not solve. That woman was a Nobel Prize winner. There were only servants in the house. There was no hope for them. It would be a great miracle that servants could come to the house and solve it. But it has been solved, and half was left and half is complete now. Then I got into great trouble. I saw all the doors. He cannot have faith that God will come down. She cannot have faith. No God had even come down from above. But when I looked closely, I found that the rest of the letters were also his. Then she began to think that she woke up in a dream in her sleep. She remembered the dream that she had woken up in a dream. She dreamed that she was solving the problem. She woke up in her sleep at the night and solved the question. Then it became systematic method to sleep with a question pressed under the pillow. When a question was not solved, wake up at night and solve it. Throughout the day, Madame Curie was an individual, a person. The ego is lost in the night sleep. The drop merges with the ocean, and the question that our conscious mind could not find, our unconscious deep, which is connected with God, is able to find. So you can even take it, like I have experienced this thing, like I was very tensed when I lost something that I was going after crazy for that. But once I left everything, I just I thought just leave everything, then automatically I was out of that trouble. So that thing was seriously I surrendered myself. I was I just want to close, shut down my mind. I want to be at zero and null. And then this thing happened with me. So I know how this thing works. So these examples will also be in your life if you have noticed. So once you stop the struggle, then sometimes you achieve it. It's not always, but if you do a deep research. So thank you guys.